If I were to blackmail you by threatening your safety or your financial security or a loved one of yours with violence or in some other way, and I were to be caught doing that, I would go to prison. No questions asked. That's a crime. In all 50 states, federally, everywhere, it's a crime. However, emotional blackmail in a marriage is something that happens quite frequently. Other forms of coercion and manipulation are also commonplace. Yet for some reason, these forms of emotional abuse, and technically crimes, generally go underreported. In fact, most men live with this concept in their head and never get around to even dealing with it, much less talking about it with other people. In a recent survey, it was determined that 1 out of 3 men have complained that their wives have used the withholding of affection, i.e. sex, as a way to manipulate them in their relationship. By the way, this is considered by most psychologists to be emotional and psychological abuse. There isn't a survey for this, but I tried to find out, and there's evidence that there's a significant percentage of men who stay in bad marriages because they fear the repercussions of divorce. And I'm not talking about the separation from this woman that they're living with, but the financial repercussions, the social isolation from their children, and the emotional upheaval that would come from it. So today, I want to talk a little bit about how women use these levers of influence and manipulation to control men in very unhealthy and destructive relationships. And hopefully talk a little bit about how men can avoid it, get around it, or at least have it recognized so that in a divorce proceeding, this information can come to light and these women can be seen as the, I don't know if they're sociopaths or personality disorders or whatever they are. And that can be taken into account because emotional abuse, by anyone's standard, no matter who's doing it, should not be allowed, should not be permitted, should not be condoned. And our court system doesn't seem to recognize it just from testimony. You're going to have to provide some evidence. Let's talk about it. The first sign that your relationship is in big trouble usually comes when you get the silent treatment. The silent treatment is a subtle form of manipulation and coercion. You're not sure exactly what you did wrong, or even if it was wrong for that matter. All you know is that she's unhappy with something. And she's expressing her unhappiness through a lack of communication, by withholding her attention, affection, all of it. This is coercion. This is an unhealthy, abusive way to communicate. Yet women do it all the time. And it's mind-blowing that it gets so underreported. If you do any research on emotional abuse in marriage, you will find enormous amounts of studies that talk about how men use controlling tactics in relationships with women. You'll find very little about how frequently women use these kinds of tactics. And I think the reason why is because men generally don't report it. We just accept it. The next thing you're going to experience in this little coercive nightmare is lack of affection. So you reach out for her hand, you try to wrap your arms around her, give her some affection to see if maybe you can break the ice and get things back on track, maybe open up some pathways of communication. And she does not want you to touch her. Don't you touch me. Like, what the hell was that? Or she just withholds her hand, pulls away, walks away, turns her shoulder. This is another one of those very common experiences that men have in marriage that go largely underreported and is truly a form of abuse, psychological control. It's a practice that women use on the regular to get what they want, to express some level of disapproval in their man, withholding affection. Now, if she did that to a child, she would go to prison. Withholding affection from a child or withholding attention from a child, that results in as a crime. Using coercion to get what you want by withholding affection is perfectly okay when it's to a man. The escalation moves on to sex, yes. And I'm not talking about just not getting it one night. I'm talking about not getting it for a long time, weeks, months, even years. This is very common. I'm not talking about situations where, she's got some physical problem, and she's not capable of having sex. There's an illness or something along those lines. I'm talking about situations where the sex is being withheld intentionally because she's unhappy with something that's going on in your marriage. There's a behavior that you're doing that she doesn't like, or there's a situation in your relationship she doesn't like. And so she has decided that because she's not happy about this behavior, whatever it is, or the situation, whatever it is, that you're not getting any. And the implication, of course, is that if you fix whatever it is that she deems as broken, that she will then open up the gateway to physical intimacy. This is blackmail, plain and simple. This should be a federal crime. Women should go to prison for this. This is completely accepted, though, in our society, and women do it all the time. It is so commonplace that it's almost a meme. You could probably see it in sitcoms, where you're just not going to be getting any for a while. I remember in my marriage, I can't even remember why. I honestly don't. It was just one day she said, "We're just not having sex anymore." I'm like, oh fuck. What do you mean we're not having sex anymore? I just don't feel the same about you anymore. I think we're just going to have sex. We're not going to have any more sex. Like, really? Like, you think that's a good plan? Like, that's going to work out well in the long run? Like, that's going to make everybody happy? Like, that's a good compromise? No. And what's interesting is that when you get into a marriage, you agree not to have sex with other people, that you're only going to have sex with one person. So now what happens when that one person says, "I'm not going to have sex with you anymore"? Yeah, if you go outside the marriage to say, okay, I have some physical needs that I need to have addressed, not to mention just the general need for some physical closeness and affection from a woman, whew, man, now you're the bad guy. You are absolutely the bad guy. There's no winning in that situation. Since the very beginning, there has been this unspoken implication, this unspoken sort of rule that you kind of know, that if she becomes unhappy enough, she can file for divorce. And it's in that filing for divorce that she has the ultimate leverage, just even the threat of it. So, do it my way or else. I will file for divorce, I will take the house and the kids, and I can do it. You can hear it. You've heard that, or you know of other guys who have heard that. That is that blackmail, or is that a coercion, combination of the two? I don't know. But if a criminal did that to you, you better do these things or else I'm going to cause you enormous emotional and financial pain. I'm going to take your children and your house. If a criminal did that to you, well, they could go to prison for that. Some guy said, "I'm going to take your house and your children." They would go to prison for it. Your wife says it, and not only will she not go to prison, but the courts will actually help her do it. Really, they will help her do it. They will facilitate this whole crime. It'll be completely legal and above board. Yes, yeah, it's an irony. It's amazing to me these days that anybody gets married at all, any man gets married at all. I understand why a woman would do it, All the incentives are there for her to get everything that she wants. Usually, by the time you hear the words, "You better do this or else I'm gonna divorce you, take the kids and the house and half your money," by the time you hear some threat like that, she's already got the plan in place. She's probably already got access to the money that she plans to take. In fact, she may have already been taking a lot of your money already. She may have it stashed in her own little private account. She may already have a plan to get out. She may already have people in place, including maybe even another guy. This happens frequently enough that in the comments, I see it almost every single day, where men will tell this story almost letter for letter. And it's hilarious that somehow women, inevitably, by society standards, are considered the victims in many of these situations. The truth of the matter is they are using methods of control and communication that by anyone's standards would be considered emotional abuse. And this is almost invisible in our media, in our society. Or if it ever gets to get reported, most people assume that the man is exaggerating or lying or is in some way blowing this thing completely out of proportion. The courts will certainly not give you very much sympathy in this situation, unless you have a lot of really super strong evidence to back it up. I'm talking about video and voice recordings of her threatening you with emotional abuse. You know, maybe that would do it. Maybe you could get a witness or two that'll do it. But yeah, women are almost famous for using these kinds of tactics in relationship, and it just goes almost completely unreported. One of the big problems that we men face in this situation is we are always trying to fix things. And when things start going south in your relationship, you think you can fix it. But if you're seeing these kinds of controlling, manipulative behaviors, there's a really good chance that you're not going to be able to fix it. Because if she's resorting to this way of communicating with you by withholding affection, withholding sex, behaving in a way that threatens the relationship, threatens your finances, threatens the children, she has gone off her rocker. These are the actions of someone who is psychologically and emotionally unstable. There is no fixing this. You need to just cut your losses and get the fuck out as quickly as you can. The most important thing is to recognize these characteristics as early as possible before they get a chance to escalate to a point where real damage can occur. If you don't take these steps early, take steps to defend yourself, getting legal advice, financial advice, finding ways to insulate yourself from the potential damage that may be coming, there's a very good chance that you're going to get caught off guard, because she's going to pull the trigger on whatever plan she has in mind, and you're going to be caught flat-footed. And this happens most of the time, because we guys think we can fix it and we can make it right, we can turn things around. We don't want to face the reality that we're facing right now, that we don't want to come to terms with this reality that we're facing right now. And it's a very tough place to be. Much better to bite the bullet early, take your hits, get this thing sorted out while you can before you lose control. Because once you lose control of this situation and she's driving the bus, she's pushing the agenda with the lawyers and the courts, you're going to get run over. You're going to get run over by it. So, all right, you guys, that's all I got for you today. I certainly hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please like and subscribe. And if you know someone who might be going through this, or you might be having this kind of experience in their marriage, please share this video with them. Hopefully we can save some poor guy from experiencing the worst of this. All right, stay healthy, and if you can, be the better man.